Good morning, everyone. While the latecomers are getting seated, let me take the opportunity to remind you of a message you probably have received maybe several times already. Today is the second day of antigen testing. It has to be completed before 2 o'clock. We should have sufficient breaks so you don't need to leave the meeting while we are dealing with matters. We have short breaks, which I need to be advised upon, by the way, when we can have the coffee break. But we have the coffee break, and we will not continue beyond 12:30, which is the schedule indicated in your agenda. So please take care and produce the same negative results as you did some days ago. That's an order, call of order. Well, thank you very much. Today we will move to the formal part of our section meetings. We had a, let's say, pre-processing, preparation, warm-up, getting together in this meeting room and get acquainted with some of the topics we'll deal with also today and tomorrow on Monday. Today we are in a formal setting of the Congress. So we will follow the agenda for the section special meeting, the meeting of special representatives. Special representatives, you're all special for speed skating. And we'll follow the procedural rules for the Congress. They have been referred to and adopted at the general meeting. So I will not go into detail with references to paragraphs, etc., but just remind you of some key elements. First of all, there is a limited time for speaking when you take the floor for a motion or for an agenda item, not more than 3 minutes. On a proposal, only one member of the delegation of an ISU member can take the floor. So please make sure you have agreed upon who is leading the views of your delegation when we come to the proposal stage. And we try to avoid too lengthy discussions. If I find out that we have some topics that may justify to deviate from that rule of only 2 interventions per person, I will ask the meeting to accept that, unless the legal advisor would object, and he would not object. Thank you very much, Michael. I think these are the key rules. We'll have a roll call soon because we are doing the voting on proposals and other matters in the same way as we do in a plenary session. When we come to proposals, there is the requirement of a 2/3 majority of votes to change or to adopt new rules, because that means a change of the current special regulations of our sports. So it requires 2/3 majority, just as the proposals that we dealt with in the plenary session under the Constitution and general regulations of the ISU. Other matters that would be put to a vote would, I assume, require only a simple majority. So much about that. Then I would like to open the meeting and welcome heartily all of you delegates and office holders. I'd like to recognize and appreciate the presence of ISU Honorary Member Yong-Hee Chang. And also to introduce my colleagues at this table. Our ISU Council member Stoichkov Stoichev has excuse of absence because he got ill this morning and is currently under medical observation. so he excuses himself for not being able to attend, at least from the beginning. Let's hope this will be temporary. Best wishes for Stoicho. Then Sergio Anesi. Jill Kim. Roland Maillard. And our host, Suwana Silarka. And on my left side, our legal advisor dedicated to speed skating matters, Professor Michael Geistlinger, the technical sports director for the speed skating branch, Hugo Hernhoff, chair of the short track speed skating technical committee, Nathalie Lambert, and the chair of the speed skating technical committee, Alexander Gibalko. I also want to recognize and appreciate the full presence of the technical committees of each of the two disciplines, short track and speed skating, as well as, I believe, two of the ISU medical advisors, colleagues that have been very busy during the recent season, even more busy than usual, and as busy as anyone else. Development Commission with the coordinator, Susanna Rakamo, and member Yilda Gemsi. And we have, I believe, two members of the Athletes Commission. Oh, yes, Shushun is also here. We are very well represented in the Development Commission. As you see, we have the full Development Commission attending our meeting. So it doesn't mean they neglect the figure skating, but it's also a proof that we are in the best hands with the Development Commission on the speed skating side. And then from the Athletes Commission, we have the chair, David de Vries, and I would think Victor is still testing. Victor not from the short track. So I also notice we have, and let's hope you will not be busy in your current capacity, Albert Hasselhoff, member of the Disciplinary Commission of the ISU. Welcome. Oh, yes. We also have, our second Disciplinary Commission member. Yeah, sorry for Francois. Yeah. I hope you will also not be busy in your capacity as Disciplinary Commission member during our sessions. Oh, we also had a representative of the Masters. Yes, very welcome. We also have the attendance list of all the delegates. I don't have it in front of me, and I don't want to present everyone, but you're all welcome, everyone who has not been named and mentioned here. So let's move forward. I think the meeting is open. Does anyone have any objections or questions to the standardized agenda for the meeting? Thank you. Then we proceed. And the first item, business item on the agenda, is the election of a secretary to record the minutes of the meetings of this branch. And the Council of the ISU has proposed and got the consent from Margaret Lundin, who is already taking her seat at this table from Australia, Speed. Thank you very much for your availability, and good luck with your task. Then we shall verify the qualifications of the speed skating representatives and their right to vote. This agenda item has already been addressed by the plenary session, and I assume we have the same delegates here, so this should be straightforward. Are there any objections to any of the delegates and delegations present? Not the case, then we can consider that to be duly verified. Item number 4, election of 2 scrutineers of the minutes of the meeting. The ISU Council will propose and have got the consent of availability from Vesa Rosendal from the Finnish delegation and Orsi Varadi from Hungary. Any other reactions to this than acclamation? Not even that, but no protest. So you're elected. Thank you very much. Item number 5, election of drafting committees, consisting of at least 3 members to draft the final text of proposals adopted during our session concerning the speed skating regulations and technical rules, as well as the short track speed skating regulations and technical rules. On behalf of the ISU Council, I will propose the following drafting committees for speed skating. Technical committee members, Chair Alexander Kibalko, Nick Tomets, Øystein Haugen, and Fabrice Brahin, the Speed Skating Sports Director at the ISU Secretariat. Can this be accepted? Thank you. For the short track drafting committee, the following are proposed. Nathalie Lambert, Chair of the Technical Committee. Rainier Ostheim and Wim de Dene, members of the Technical Committee. Technical Sports Director and Event Manager, Short Track, Hugo Herrenhoff, and the always available Fabrice Brahin from the ISU office. Is this accepted? Thank you very much. Then I think I can consider the approval of the agenda, but before we move further, I believe we may have the roll call to assure the presence of everyone before we go into the other agenda items. Is that something we can do now? Obviously. A roll call, yes. Can we have a roll call? Thank you. Thank you. Reminding now all of you, almost all of you, those of you that have got a pad in front of you, voting pad, press 1 and valid to confirm that you are present. Anyone having any problems? Doesn't seem to be the case. Can we close the vote? So let's see. 46 are present. Can we... So not present according to this roll call are delegates from Indonesia. So please protest if you are here. Indonesia. I take this as an indication that they haven't arrived. It's close, should be next door, next seat to Hungary, and they are not observed. India is not here, confirmed. Israel. Yeah. Israel is not here. Malaysia. Yeah. Okay, so we have noted that Malaysia. Is Malaysia already returned from the testing? No. Romania? Not here. Not here now, but they are at the Congress. Okay. And Turkey has just entered the room. May I suggest that we make another roll call when we move to the item of the motions? And hopefully we'll have a more complete attendance at that point in time. Okay? So we'll verify the required majority at the next roll call. So we have approved the agenda. We know that most of you are already present, and we'll repeat the roll call before we move into item 8 of the agenda. Now, I will address item number 7, which is the biennial report by the Vice President. Dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I started my biennial report at the 57th ISU Ordinary Congress in Sevilla by looking back on the great success that the speed skating disciplines enjoyed at the Olympic Winter Games 2018 in Pyeongchang, Gangneung, with spectacular races and exciting fight for medals, as well as a nice distribution of podium positions and titles across the skating world. In addition, the successful introduction of the mass start as an Olympic event contributed to a record participation of 28 countries in the speed skating competitions in Pyeongchang. Considering the exceptional circumstances, which also prevented an ISU Congress to convene in the middle of the Olympic cycle, it is amazing and really against all odds that happy memories of success from the most recent Olympic Winter Games will be a major part of my report also today. As we recall, the pandemic began to have negative impact on our sports during the season 2019-20. First, by the cancellation of the World Short Track Championships in Seoul due to the lockdown introduced in the Republic of Korea in February 2020, followed by the complete discontinuation of national and international sports events when similar measures were introduced in the rest of the skating world as from early March 2020. ISU was fortunate and blessed with luck, we have to admit, to have the speed skating season concluded with the holding of the World All-Round and Sprint Championships in Hamar, as well as the World Cup final in Heerenveen, just before the strictest COVID-19 measures took effect. But shortly afterwards, the prime ISU event of that season, the 2020 World Figure Skating Championships in Montreal, Canada, had to be cancelled. Contingency planning became the key word of the season 2020-21, both for member federations and for the ISU. The ISU established working groups for both branches with the responsibility to prepare sport-specific COVID-19 measures to complement general measures worked out by the ISU Medical Commission, and to monitor on a continuous and literally continuous basis, almost day-to-day basis in periods, the feasibility of holding allotted ISU events at the planned dates and locations. The working groups got a busy agenda and, admittedly, a very frustrating task, with numerous event cancellations as inevitable conclusions. For short track, all the planned World Cup competitions of that season had to be cancelled, but European Championships in Gdansk and the World Championships in Dordrecht were successfully held. For speed skating, a special concept with multiple events in Tialf, Heerenveen was thoroughly prepared for a special opening of the season. Due to pandemic developments, this plan had to be abandoned. But the concept was reactivated and further elaborated for later use. And during 30 days, from the middle of January 2021, 4 ISU speed skating events were held in the unique Heerenveen speed skating bubble. The program included the European Championships, 2 World Cups, and the World Championships, which had initially been allotted to Beijing, intended as a test event at the brand new venue for the speed skating competitions at the 2022 Olympic Winter Games. The preparations for the Olympic season were no less demanding. Ultimately, it was possible to confirm that Olympic test events for all the 3 ISU Olympic sports would be held in October 2021, starting with a lower scale speed skating competition at the soon-to-be famous ice ribbon in Beijing. Thanks to the participation of Dutch, Korean and Chinese skaters, this competition gave essential feedback for the further fine-tuning of the venue and all key operations to secure successful conduct of the Olympic Games. For short track, the Olympic test event was the first of the 4 World Cups serving as Olympic qualifying competitions. Despite the complications and very high costs of travel and attendance due to pandemic-caused flight restrictions and COVID testing requirements, this event was fully attended by ISU members, underlining the immense importance of Olympic participation for skaters and their federations. Likewise, the 3 following World Cups, short track in Nagoya, Japan, Debrecen, Hungary and Dordrecht, Netherlands, were completed according to the planned schedule, as were the 4 speed skating World Cups determining Olympic quotas in Tomaszów, Maz, Poland, Stavanger, Norway, Salt Lake City, USA and Calgary, Canada. All competitions were held in accordance with ISU COVID-19 guidelines and local pandemic regulations. Regrettably, a few skaters had to withdraw from some qualifying competitions due to infections, but nevertheless, it must be noted that the ISU World Cup circuits had much lower number and frequency of cases than the pre-Olympic circuits in the outdoor Olympic winter sport. I think this is a great credit to the preparations done by all involved parties in our events. The Olympic qualification process was more competitive than ever due to the imposed reduction of athlete quotas for the ISU sports decided by the International Olympic Committee. The reduced maximum quotas made it necessary to adjust the qualification systems, and because of the strictly enforced maximum numbers, the qualification systems became a bit complicated. unavoidably, I would add. But the revised systems fulfilled its aim to ensure a fair qualification process. And it was satisfying to see that for both disciplines, the total number of participating countries remained at the same level as the Olympic Winter Games 2018, in spite of the reduced number of quota places. 27 countries in speed skating and 23 countries in short track, with a total of 35 ISU members represented in our branch at the Olympic Winter Games. That's up from 30 in 2018. The ongoing pandemic and the comprehensive protective measures made the final preparations and arrival stage of competitors, teams and officials in Beijing a period filled with even more suspense than the most exciting Olympic competitions in the past. But the impressively comprehensive and incredibly detailed preparations of the Beijing Olympic Organizing Committee turned out to be effective and made it possible to implement competitions under excellent circumstances with participation of the large majority of entered skaters. Compliments to the Chinese hosts. Also during the Olympics, the ISU sport had less COVID cases than most other sports. Those ISU athletes and officials, and there were a few, unfortunately, that could not participate as planned, had a deep felt sympathy from their ISU colleagues on site in Beijing as well as at home. The Olympic competitions were again a great success for speed skating disciplines. Also this time, with the successful introduction of a new medal event, mixed relay made its debut as Olympic short track event only a few years after it had been introduced in the World Cup circuit, with, I dare to say, with some anxiety to see whether it would work as well on the ice as on paper. The paper that we had submitted to the International Olympic Committee to have it adopted. So compliments to everyone, coaches and athletes and officials that really made this a fast track into a successful event. Olympic titles were distributed between 7 countries in speed skating and 6 countries in short track speed skating. And for both disciplines, there were Olympic champions from 3 different continents, underlying a rather unique global dimension amongst the Olympic winter sports. The strict limits set on spectator attendance could not create the perfect atmosphere and ambience in the venues, but the skaters, who had grown accustomed to competing in empty stadiums during the last seasons, appreciated the support from the stands and obviously were inspired by it. The level of the racing was very high, illustrated by the fact that new Olympic records were set in 7 out of 9 Olympic record events in short track and in 10 out of 12 Olympic record events in speed skating. Both short track and speed skating experienced 1 new world record set during the Games. The Beijing Olympic Winter Games leaves an important legacy through the magnificent National Speed Skating Oval and the ISU Center of Excellence in Beijing. The ISU is and will be working closely with the Chinese members and sports authorities to ensure that this legacy potential will be exploited to the great benefit of the ISU sports. The participation of 35 ISU speed skating members in the Olympic Winter Games is a credit also to the ISU development program. Especially ISU members without adequate infrastructure and with limited know-how has been helped to create better conditions and opportunities for their athletes to progress. By facilitating cooperation between members, and providing access to high-level expertise and facilities, as well as tailor-made instruments to support coaches and athletes in those parts of the speed skating world. Many ISU speed skating members are dependent on athletes making a successful transition from inline skating to ice skating, or to combine these two forms of skating activities. This situation has been actively addressed by the Development Commission, and ISU will also approach the inline skating community with the aim to reduce dilemmas for skaters pursuing parallel careers in the two sports. The high performance achievements by the skaters in the Olympic season were truly impressive. This would not have been possible without the competition opportunities created by the great efforts laid down in staging ISU events under the very demanding pandemic circumstances. I thank all the hosting ISU members and their organizing committees and volunteers for making these events happen and be successfully completed. On the ISU side, the event managers Hugo Hernoff and David Brore carried a heavy burden on their shoulders, almost without possibilities for rest during 2 full seasons. For the dedicated ISU staff led by the always available sports director Fabrice Prahin and the technical committees led by Alexander Kebalko and Nathalie Lambert, extraordinary efforts were constantly required. My ISU Council colleagues were faced with new and demanding tasks and responsibilities as ISU representatives at the events, and not to forget the medical advisors of the ISU. The ISU officials demonstrated more than ever their dedication for the sports and their qualities as professional volunteers. Their willingness to take additional risks with personal health and well-being at stake, and their flexibility to step in for colleagues even on the shortest notice, was crucial for the successful completion of the ISU events and the Olympic Winter Games. I direct my appreciation to those ISU officials who are with us as delegates at this Congress, and ask you to share this message with your colleagues. The 2 years passed since the 58th ISU Congress that initially was due to take place here in Phuket in 2020 have in many ways been an endurance test, an exercise in patience and search for possibilities to make the best out of difficult and unpredictable circumstances. Inevitably, this has put other ambitions on hold, including the essential mission to develop innovative ideas and approaches to better promote our sports, both commercially and to be more attractive for new generations of fans and athletes. This has only become more important during the emergency period of the pandemic, and will require the full attention in the years ahead, as our sports are faced with increasingly tough competition, both in the markets of sponsorships, media attention and exposure. This must be in focus also for the ongoing work together with ISU members on season calendar planning, on improving the presentation of the ISU events, and on the development of competition formats and rules, including the discussion of proposal submitted for the agenda at this Congress. The pandemic period has also released an innovation potential in the ISU activities. Online seminars, workshops and e-learning have got a central role in the education of officials, and has become the main tool for networking between officials and with the technical committees. For short track, a new and much improved tool for video replay at ISU events was introduced after the 2018 Olympic season, and this has been followed up by development of methods to assess race situations and to explain racing rule violations in a consistent and transparent manner. Controversies over decisions on racing rule violations cannot be eliminated, as we see from other sports that also make use of video replay tools to support judges. But short track has been in the forefront in the application of video replay tools, and the technical committees and the event manager is continuing the efforts to find improvements in the use of these indispensable tools. I would like to end this report by expressing my appreciation for the good cooperation with the ISU colleagues introduced at the opening of this session and with the ISU members present. I wish all of us, all of you, all of us, a constructive meeting with good and forward-looking discussions on behalf of our sports. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Then I would like to get back to verifying the attendance, because we are soon to move into the agenda item to approve motions submitted to the Congress agenda. So may I then ask for another roll call? Thank you. So the vote is open. Press 1 and valid to verify that you're present. I get a signal that 3 are missed potential. 2? Well, okay, then I was just about to say that fits with our estimate some minutes ago, but only 2, that's good news. Does anyone have any indications that the 2 missing could be Indonesia? India? India is here. Romania? Romania is not here. Okay. So 2 of those that were not here at the previous roll call doesn't show indication of presence. So then I think we can close the vote and see whether our assumption is confirmed. So now we are 50 delegations present. The 2/3 majority will be 34. So for a motion, a proposal to be adopted under the special regulations, 34 votes will be required. If we would have other decisions to take, and we might come that far, perhaps not until tomorrow, regarding technical rules, if we get any votes there, but other motions that are not proposals for the regulations will require 26 votes to be adopted. Does this mean that Indonesia is present? Fantastic. Indonesia is present and India is present. And Turkey, who are those arriving and maybe already conducted the antigen test. well, you're welcome in any case, whether it was the test or other causes of your delay. But we are missing Israel and Romania. The qualified majority will stay at 34 if we get one more delegation present. But if the two missing, both of them will arrive, then the qualified majority number will rise to 35. So we may remember this, and may I ask for your cooperation to take note if any of the now missing delegations will arrive. So, following the approach of Freddy Schmid as conducting the votes in the plenary session, we will not necessarily go to electronic or digital voting on all proposals, but it's your privilege to ask for that. Also to ask for a secret vote, which would require the support of several delegations. Yeah. 10, the number would be the same in this meeting as it was in the plenary session. All right. Then I think we are ready to move into business. Our president normally had a coffee break before we moved into the demanding matters, but maybe it's a bit early for the coffee break at this moment. But can I just, for my convenience, can I get an indication from ISU staff when the coffee would be ready, so we don't end up in the middle of maybe a time-consuming discussion just at that moment?
Meeting.
Yeah, 10:30, and then we 10:30. Okay, is the same message given to the? Is the same timetable given to the figure skating session? Okay, should we then aim at closing our session at 10:20? Okay, thank you. Let's try to achieve that. Okay. Item number 9. We start as indicated in the agenda. There is no other than random priority for this, but we start with the speed skating regulations. So I'll not leave the floor to Alexander Kibalko, but I will let him speak as we go through the introduction of the proposals without necessarily giving him the floor each time. Before we start, we are talking about we are addressing page 30 of the Congress agenda, starting with proposal number 41, and it extends up until proposal number 51. So there are 11 proposals that will be addressed in this part of the agenda item. Before we move to the short track special regulations. So the technical rules that we were dealing with in our Monday meeting will only be addressed under the next agenda item. So now we complete the special regulations, also for the reason that there might be proposals adopted or not adopted here that have an impact on the relevance and in some case maybe even the substance of some of the technical rule proposals that we reviewed 2 days ago. So I hope this is clear to everyone. This is the reason why it's divided like that. So we will not continue with proposal number 52 when we are finished with 51, but then we will jump to the first proposal under the special regulations of short track speed skating. Okay, any questions? We are ready to go? Ready to start. Go to the start, Alexander. Proposal 41.
Good morning, everybody. I try to summarize the most important proposals in presentation, so we know what we are talking about, and you see exactly what I'm trying to explain. So proposal number 41 deals with rule 208, paragraphs 211, paragraph 212, A and B. This is also outcome of the past 2 seasons where we saw that we cancelled quite important qualification events. Especially we used to call them World Cups, we still call them World Cups, but in order to use other possible qualification competitions, we do not specify exactly only World Cups, but we talk also about other ISU speed skating events, just like for regional championships, or could be even national not only ISU speed skating. So any ISU speed skating event can be qualification. So next one, the same proposal actually deals with a number of quotas distributed at those qualification events. Currently, you see that we distribute quotas based on SQRL points and SQRL times rankings. Idea of the technical committee is to give World Cups more value, meaning that participation of all World Cups are very important. So meaning that we give a little bit small chance that you will qualify by times, and the rest you have to participate in a majority of the World Cups in order to gain as many points as possible. So you have a table, and the left second or third left SQRL points ranking, and the most right SQRL times ranking. So 20 will be by points and only 4 by times, and so on. Long distances, mass start is unchanged. 24 all quotas will be allocated by points, and in the team competitions, team sprint or team pursuit, 7 by points and 1 by time. Sure.
Yes, I think with the details already provided, Alexandra, I think we can move to the discussion of this proposal at this point in time, to when we have everything fresh. Susan Sandvik-Schob, USA.
Yes, I agree with the first part that we can use qualifications from other events, but I'm concerned about if you want the best skaters to be there, is there another way to do it? Instead of qualifying for your country, you qualify for your person. So otherwise, we would like to move a little bit more towards getting the time ranking when you go from 10 to 4. if we can have a compromise there. Otherwise, make it that 2/3 of the skaters have to qualify their position for themselves, not for their country. Then you can get your best skaters there.
Please confirm, Alexander, but this proposal doesn't change the fact that the skaters are qualifying quotas for their country.
Correct, Ron.
So there is no change in that. But I've taken note of your request to not change the balance that much between what we call the points ranking and the time ranking.
Okay,
Just to add to what Alexander said, it's not necessarily to take part in as many World Cups as possible, but it's to reduce the effect that some World Cup venues are more easy to gain a strong time. So by giving more emphasis to the so-called points ranking, the merits of a good competition, if you are number 8, it doesn't matter whether it's in Salt Lake City or in Tomášov Maz. You get the same merits for that in qualifying quota. So that's the kind of justice principle that is behind the move to give more weight to the points that you achieve in the qualifying competitions. Moreover, before leaving the floor to Christian Breuer, I think you want to speak, Christian. This proposal has two elements, and the two elements are kind of separated. So if you, like the previous speaker, can just address which part of the proposal you might be focusing on. Because when we come to the vote, depending on the discussion and potential counter proposals, you may divide the vote between the two chapters of this proposal.
Yes, as you already mentioned, Christian Breuer from Germany Speed. Just for clarification, are we is Alex presenting now every proposal and at the end we discuss, or are we actually right now discussing every and each proposal? Because then I have to actually move back to the first one.
As I think I tried to clarify that, Alexander never got any further than to proposal number 41. And then I stopped him and I said, okay, let's take the discussion on this proposal now. So, so you're like the previous speaker, you can speak on proposal number 41.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment actually. The new wording includes that with extraordinary events, we take also events from last season, or you include events from last season, right? So just to be clear, if you change the qualifying times for the season that we are in, let's say, there could be a chance that our skaters counted that had qualifying times from last season under different circumstances. So it could be that they achieve a time that's enough, but don't match the qualifying time of the actual season we are talking about. Just that you be aware of that the qualifying times, if you switch them in between, you could get a difference there.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. All the qualification times are mentioned, and period for achievement of the qualification times, they are mentioned in the communication. So we are taking your note, and actually we already did that. We are going 2 seasons. Normally for the World Cups you have 1 season as a qualification period. Now we say 2 seasons. And for juniors maybe even longer sometimes, because there were no international season at all. But yes, thank you. Yeah.
Are there any more questions to this proposal? Yes.
Yeah, Ippolito Sanfratello, Italy. Concerning proposal 42, we believe that having only 2 athletes qualified for 5K and 10K is not enough, because they skate only maybe one events during the qualification season, and the risk is that maybe not the best athletes qualify in this distance. And also the risk is that maybe not specialized skaters qualify for this distance, and then they maybe withdraw before the competition because they're not trained for that. coming back to 4 instead of 2 could be a good compromise.
Okay, we are in the challenging domain of having to ask for written proposals for amendments unless it's possible to make it crystal clear without a written amendment. Are there more interventions before I leave it to Alexander to consider the input? No more interventions on this. Alexander, will you comment on this?
Yeah,
it seems everyone accepts the principal change in the first part of this under 211. Under 212, there is this concern about the proposal going too far in the direction of the so-called points ranking.
Yes, we will consider, and actually if you, maybe Ippolito and Susan, you can get together and, as the Tron mentioned, propose written numbers. It will be easier for us, right? And then we vote on it afterwards.
Yeah, it's possible to keep that pending, but let me just check now. Not deciding upon 212, but the 211 part of this proposal. Are anyone objecting to the adoption of that? That means to open up to use other competitions than the World Cup competitions of the season concerned, which we actually had to do exceptionally during the pandemic period. Are anyone against this part of the proposal? Show your red card. So then I think we can consider this to be accepted, and we keep the voting on 212 pending. That would be a good coffee break exercise, I believe, and we can hopefully get back on that without delaying the further process. Then I propose to move to proposal number 42.
Proposal 42 presented by ISU Council and Speed Skating Technical Committee. It's a joint proposal, also related to last 2 seasons, that we realized that reserve list is short and not always fulfilling the all pairs. So we propose to limit or to extend to a maximum of 10 positions and individual distances and mustard, and to 6 positions in team events. And you used to be 6 skaters and only 3 teams, so we adding 4 plus 4 skaters plus 3 teams.
Yeah. So you all understand this is to avoid the situation that we end up with fewer athletes than foreseen, even if we would have athletes ranked just below the current last reserve positions being eager to participate. And this has in fact happened a couple of times in recent seasons. Anyone want to speak on this proposal? No. Can I ask those that are against the adoption of this proposal to show a red card? Okay, I should be careful and ask, are there anyone abstaining? Not even, or abstaining. Maybe some are abstaining from showing their white card. Show the green cards, those of you in favor, so we can see it's obviously adopted. Thank you. We can go on with proposal 43.
I don't have slide because it's just almost drafting or fulfilling the proposal number 5 of the general session, proposal of 29 and proposal 34. It deals with addition of a sport expert and about the clarification of ice technical expert. There are nothing to say actually anymore, so we are asking for inclusion into officials list sport expert and 1 ice technical expert. Yeah, but they use in the Olympic Winter Games ice technical expert only.
May I ask, we've came to the conclusion that the job of the sport expert and our competitor steward are getting pretty similar. And maybe we can find a common name for that function.
Yeah. Maybe we can, yes. Thank you for raising the question. I agree that the functions are quite a bit similar, not identical, and there are some major tasks of the competitor steward that are not included in the sport expert portfolio, but nevertheless it seems a nice idea at least, so let's look at that for the future. But for the time being, we keep that pending. Are there any other questions or comments to this proposal? That is not the case. I'm tempted to consider it as accepted. Can I ask those that are in favor to show the green cards? Yeah, I close my eyes and count to more than 10, yes. I think it's accepted. Any objections? Red cards, please. Okay. It's abstentions. It's unanimously accepted. We go on with proposal 44 then.
Also, I don't have a slide because it's similar to slide before, to proposal before. Appointments of officials, just clarification that at all ISU events instead of used to be only ISU championships, and we added Winter Youth Olympic Winter Games. False start.
This is on the borderline, yes. Well, I appreciate your cooperation. Keep on the good work. Anyone with a red card? No abstentions? That's good. Fantastic. Okay, it's accepted.
Proposal 45. It's also clarification to understand when the age of 60 supposed to be reached. It wasn't really clear. Now it's more clear to understand when the official supposed to get age of 60 or 65 for a referee. And also addition of Winter Youth Olympic Games.
To be very clear, this is not changing any age limits, but we had some misunderstandings in the past. In fact, we had some nominations for the ISU list, and I think the technical committee was met with the argument that nothing prevents you from coming to the list, even if the rule says you cannot officiate at ISU events. So this kind of paradoxical situation will be clarified with this wording. So then, and you will recall, some of you, that at the previous Congress, I believe, Rainier, you remember, we introduced this senior official denotation. So anyone who has served as ISU, had been on the ISU list, will move to the international list with an S mark indicating that they have a past as an ISU official. So this is consistent with that approach. Again, anyone want to speak on this, or you only want to show your green cards? Canada?
Our proposal number 46 was intended to align all of the proposals together. The age proposals with short track and long track, and we would be willing to amend ours to align with 45, if that's possible. And we're also okay to withdraw ours if the 106 proposal gets accepted. So number 106 also deals with age. So it would be great if we could talk about 45, 46, and 106 together.
Okay. I understand your point. Number 45 is not changing anything regarding the age limits, as I pointed out. So it's just a clarification in the wordings of that. So we can still move to 46 afterwards without, having rejected 46.
Yeah.
So therefore I suggest to finalize 45 to see if this clarification in the wording is accepted, and then we can move to a discussion on the age limit itself, which is the subject of the Canadian proposal 46. Is that clear to everyone? So does anyone object to the wording clarification that is submitted under proposal 45? Okay, those in favor show the green. Thank you. And anyone against? And abstentions? Okay, it's accepted. And then we can move to 46. I already heard Susan say that, well, maybe this should not be concluded here, or, well, I give you the floor to...
We just think there is confusion with the different age limits for different positions and the two different sports. So we would just like some consistency with age. I think people are generally the same in short track and long track and across the various sports. Certainly starters maybe is a little bit different, but I think Canada really would like all the ages consistent. It's more clear for, volunteers becoming officials and wanting to move up in the ranks. I think when you know the age limit, you can plan for it. So I think 65 was kind of our hopeful age as a limit for officials.
I think it's easy to agree in general that age limits should be harmonized. On the other hand, this proposal is a proposal that effectively would raise the age limit in speed skating, which then raises a different issue, I have to say. The age limit of 60 for ISU speed skating starters have been there for decades, and I would say for a very good reason. That may explain also the differences in the starting procedures, at least historically, may explain that. The other thing by raising age limits is also a questionable move, I think, because we all know we have a demanding task to recruit new generations also of officials, and we have a duty to make sure that age concerns will not have an impact on the quality of judging. I'm not saying that is happening in short track, but we all know that there is an increasing risk with increasing age that your observation abilities are not up to par, and it's not trivial actually for the ISU to control that without a kind of testing regime that we do not have. So I'm entering into the discussion now on the actual implications of adopting this proposal with effect for speed skating.
We would amend our proposal. The only reason we went to 70 was to harmonize it, as you said. So we are happy to amend it to 65. So.
Okay, 65 means 5 more or 5 years older starters in speed skating. Yeah. I'll just repeat. We have lived with 60 years in speed skating. I do not want to give examples, but I could. We've seen examples that this is a crucial age limit for the aptitude of individuals to master the starting in speed skating. So, I mean, I cannot, by my experience, and that's I cannot recommend such a change for speed skating, which I know over very many years, and I've seen the effect of having the 60 years age limit for starters in speed skating. Yeah, I think you know what is happening in short track is that they are moving towards it, you know, with a transition period, because every time you change an age limit, like we did for the competitors yesterday, you want to have a transition period in this case, so we do not lose officials from one season to the next by cutting off a cohort of 5 years or 10 years of officials. Well, personally, I would advocate some patience and to go with a transition phase to come towards something that is harmonized over a longer period of time than as from the coming season. Okay, can I ask whether you are willing to withdraw your proposal? Your point is certainly taken, and we have been working on this. Well, thank you very much, Susan, and the point is taken, and we are all aware of it, but haven't been able to take actions so acutely that we have arrived at a harmonized set of rules for this. Thank you very much. Then 47, proposal, and the floor is yours, Alexander.
Yeah, the proposal 47, also I don't have slide, it's clarification and adjustment to established practice, also inclusion of a sport expert at all ISU events.
No one has asked for the floor, but the coffee break is obviously tempting because the green cards come up very quickly here. Any objections or opposition to this proposal? Red card, please, or white card. We can take it at the same time. Okay, it's unanimously accepted.
Proposal number 48. Exactly the same, with the same addition of the Youth Olympic Winter Games, ice technical expert and the sport expert.
This is Oh, well, the coffee break includes green tea. Any objections? No? 48
Yes, 48 accepted.
is accepted. No abstentions? No. We move to, it seems we have related proposals, so without risking to shorten the coffee break, 49, Alexander?
49 is more serious and related to power of a referee. So since introduction of the mustard, we've learned that it's necessary to have a rule that in case or in order to prevent unsportsmanlike behavior, the referee can reprimand or warn skater, and this will be published in the official protocol and announced by announcer. So now we adding that a referee may have such a decision.
And any questions to this? It's not totally equivalent with the yellow card instrument in short track, but it's a bit similar because it's recorded and can be acted upon. Yes, please.
Eivind, Norway speed skating. What are we after with the wording here, announced by the announcer? Are we putting the skater on the pedestal, or?
Well, that's actually similar to maybe even to our friends from short track, because they announce that skater in position number 1 has one warning, and everybody aware. And in this case, maybe because okay, if referee will go directly to skater and say, okay, I warn you, and then skater will say, okay, whatever you say, you warned, I'm warned. But this is already announcement, and then everybody on the ice rink, they know, okay, the skater did something bad, and maybe I'm supposed to calm down, and all oval watching on me, so I better behave good. So that's thinking behind. Yeah, it's not just a referee to skater, but it's a little bit higher, that everybody aware what's going on.
So can they get X amount of warnings? Like, is that warning going to be they get one for a season or one for an event? Or, you know, if you get 2 warnings, are you disqualified?
Yeah, it's not limited. You can get 10 warnings or reprimands, but it's a first step. Yeah, we don't want to disqualify or punish skaters right away with, let's say, with a second warning. We see how it works.
Okay.
If it
and
works,
so is it carried along with them?
Exactly.
That it'll be marked on the protocol.
Yeah.
So we will know who has the warning.
Exactly.
And who doesn't.
Exactly.
Okay,
Maybe you can
right.
close watch on him. So that's also.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
John Ely from Great Britain. Just a question around the warning then. If a skater can have 10 warnings, then there's no consequence.
Yeah, but yeah, what we say that it can be consequences. Maybe we can give it floor to disciplinary commission. Yeah, the person is every time is behaving not good. So that can be already written reason or approved reason, because 10 times it will be in the protocol. Then we can say official statement from a technical committee or from the referee to disciplinary commission. Guys, you have to do something.
Yeah. So it's a bit different. The competition pattern is a bit different from short track, where skaters can continue to race. I mean, many races during a weekend. So therefore, they have the accumulation of the yellow card, meaning that something can have automatic consequences after repeated violation of some principles and rules to get the yellow card. So as Alexander said, this is a first step to get an instrument to have, well, a strong respect for fair skating in the mass start event. Are there more questions? One more question at least, please.
Harold Silos, Latvia. Will there be any consequences for athletes that impede other athletes and it causes an injury? Yeah, is there any rules that there are consequences for athletes not to skate dirty? Thank you.
Well, Harold, thanks. As we stated here, this rule is to prevent unsportsmanlike behavior. The consequences, when it's already happened, we have. The referee may disqualify, but this is to prevent what's happening during the race.
Yeah. Yeah. Christian Breuer, go ahead, and then I think we will take the break after your intervention because there may be questions more of clarifications than anything else, so we do not move to a vote now under time pressure. Christian, please.
Yeah, just I totally understand the approach of the TC that we had there was something missing for the referee actually to do something against this behavior. But it would be good if we can get some clarification later on by the legal advisors, because there's a lot of things connected to that, especially if you look at if it goes to disciplinary commission, like there could be sanctions up to 15,000 Swiss francs, and that's pretty hard for an athlete who's maybe just, let's say, by emotions yelling at a referee. So there's a lot to it if it once goes to the disciplinary commission. And that would be good to actually get some explanation. Also, if like the referee is the one who brings it in, or if there's somebody in between, like a TC or like a vice president, like who's actually what the procedural would be behind it. You know, I think that's quite important before we actually vote on something like this.
Okay, thank you. We'll benefit from the break to see if we can have some clarifications. Just a remark, anything that goes to the disciplinary commission has procedural rules that prevent things to, be taken lightly. So, I mean, that's a pretty safe procedure also to protect the interest of the athletes. So far, I mean, this is a way for the referee to react, and then, as said in the proposal, depending on the case, it could have further consequences. But then we are moving into a domain that is already regulated. Okay, let's take this coffee break so we are not losing. Oh, we almost lost it. So remember, the coffee break is on the upper floor. Thank you, and we resume at 20 minutes? At 10:50, please. 10:50. Thank you very much for returning, and some of you also for the cause of your somewhat delayed return.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
We understand that several of you went for the testing in this break, and that's why I accepted to delay the start of the session a little bit. But now we seem to be quite complete, so So I'd like to proceed. Before the break, we had several questions and requests for clarification of the proposed instrument of or tool of the referee to give a warning. And we have been working on this during the break together with our legal expertise and the colleagues of the disciplinary commission to avoid any inconsistencies. So please correct me if I'm saying something inaccurate now at the beginning, but I think it's important to consider this as a tool for the referee, as said in the proposal, to prevent or to prevent that unsportsmanlike behavior reoccurs. So it's not the same kind of penalty as the yellow card in short track, because the yellow card in short track is a clear-cut penalty. It's a more severe penalty than what we in short track call a penalty. It's a second level of reaction, of a penalty reaction. So this has a kind of different purpose. It tries to stimulate the sportsmanship and to avoid incidents. But nevertheless, this tool can be used also in serious instances. So this is what we try to clarify now. So it's clear that this may not be the end of the story. It was indicated in the original wording, and we have been looking at a revised wording to make that clear and to avoid any formality issues in case this is a case that should be pursued further. Then Mikael.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear President. I'm very grateful to the input and to the questions raised by the speakers, explained to the ISU discipline indication how this works in practice. In practice, a referee makes his report on the event. The report is sent to the ISU office. The ISU office distributes it to a number of officials, including the legal advisor. And when I see in the report a respective remark, it depends then on the description and the details given by the referee. If I have, and I'm not the only one, because also Director General, the chair of the Medical Commission and so on, a number of other persons too, have the impression there's something which clearly falls within the scope of the ISU Code of Ethics, so it's not just a minor issue, then we go back to the referee, ask for a very detailed explanation what has been the case, what were the facts of the case, and if they amount to our evaluation that it is an interference with the Code of Ethics, we then write a statement of complaint, and either it will be brought in by the chairman of the technical committee or by the legal advisor or by the council. There are many, in principle also in a member federation or a skater could do so. Then the statement of complaint comes on the table of the disciplinary commission, and the disciplinary commission is the body that will then definitely decide whether it was an interference with the case, with the Code of Ethics or not. And if this was, they will then impose a penalty, but I never saw a case where they imposed 15,000 euro on a skater. So most likely it will be a reprimand or a warning, depending on the terminology they will use. And maybe ineligibility for a short period of time, depending on the severity of the case. This is what I could witness from the practice of the disciplinary commission. But this is how the system will work. So I kindly ask you for your support and apologize that lawyers all the time cause problems and do not help to solve a solution.
Canada, Blair, please, and then Rain Yostheim from the Short Track Committee.
I have a question or a comment about the substance, not the change. Canada Speed is comfortable with the change with the proposed amendments, and if you want to deal with that first and then move on to the substance of the amendment, I have some questions about that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm convinced that we in
the substance is the same, just to confirm. The substance has not been changed.
So let me, Blair Carbert, Canada Speed. I just have a question about the scope of unsportsmanlike behavior, and is it the intention of the rule that it apply only to events during a race, preparatory to a race in terms of coming to the start, etc., or does it apply to behavior throughout the field of play? Does it apply to cool down and warm up areas, locker rooms, interactions with volunteers, meet officials, event officials? So it's just, and maybe those things can be clarified in communications to referees and athletes and teams. And
action or react upon could be similar behavior, but this is already covered by our rules that anyone who observes something that could potentially be a breach of ethics should report that. You know, this we have regulated. It's the field of play is the domain of the referee, and in this domain, this is intended to give them a tool to ensure fair competitions.
Tron, if I may add, Blair, we have already in the rule that a referee is couple below, if necessary, to exclude competitors from the competition. So we have it already. And this is really strong, right? If the referee already have a power to exclude competitors from without any explanation, actually, there are no explanation for what kind of reason the referee can exclude the competitor from competitions. And this is way softer compared to what we have already.
Okay, Rain Yostheim.
I believe that in short track we have quite a number of decades experience with penalties, yellow cards, red cards, and I believe that in our rules we have an extensive part on the consequences of any breaches of the rules. And with this, I'm afraid we're creating a difference between long track and short track. And I would like to see that we get this keep this in the exact same way. And I suggest that we find a way to get a similar procedure for both cases. And we have extensive rules that we have for our referees, very extensive guidance on how to treat with racing rule infringements, and I can only pledge that we have exactly the same procedure for both forms of speed skating.
That's maybe a future harmonization, but the difference here is that this is not necessarily a penalty reaction in the meaning of the short track, where the yellow card is a stricter penalty than, speed skating doesn't have the term penalty also, so we're already in two different domains, because you change the terminology to have the limited consequence of a racing rule violation. This is why the term penalty was introduced in short track speed skating. Before you had disqualification only. So we have, and this is actually depending a bit on the specifics of the two disciplines. But I think we all take on board, including legal advisor here, to avoid the confusion that you are warning against. So this is also why I think the technical committee, maybe they were considering this yellow card notion, because in some sports a yellow card means something different than it does in short track. It's a first warning. And in walking, okay, you have a warning that is in a way meant to be preventive, but unfortunately for several athletes, it's the first signal that before the end of the race you will be asked to leave. But so we have a lot of differences in this kind of responses from judges or referees across the sports. So we agree with you that we have to avoid that there is confusion across our disciplines. So, but this proposal is not to do something that is very similar to the way yellow cards are used in short track speed skating. So we cannot harmonize based on that assumption, which is not valid. New Zealand, Kelvin, please.
Thank you. For the sake of consistency, and I do believe that we should be consistent between speed skating and short track, under Rule 295(1)(f), we have the words, the field of play. And I think that's something significant that is actually missing out of that proposal. The field of play during short track speed skating competition is the ice surface, the immediate surroundings, which includes the heat box, coach's box, officials, restricted areas, and any other so designated areas. Now that is very significant. So those areas can be designated, but the field of play, I think, is a very, very important thing. So let's try and be consistent between the two disciplines. Thank you.
Okay, I think we take this on board as another piece of good advice. And I'm sure if this is adopted, there will be some guidance presented to our referees on how to deal with this, because they will come with the same questions as have been raised here. And then we have the opportunity also in the short term to, move towards consistency and where it's relevant to harmonize the wording and the reactions. Are there further comments? Can we then put this under a vote? Would those that they're already voting, yes? Well, we come back to the false start rules later on, but you're already voting in favor of this proposal. Thank you. Was a clear indication there. Can I have the red and the white cards at the same time? Those that are against or abstain? Thank you, and I repeat, we take on board the advice that we have received to look closely at consistent terminology whenever that is relevant. Thank you. Then I'd like Alexander to return to the second part. I'd like Alexander to return to the second part of the first proposal we started with, proposal number 41. This was the part that related to the table on the giving the structure of qualification paths.
Thank you, Tron. We received a written proposal for amendments of the quotas by points and quotas by times. Asking our technicians to show presentation. Otherwise, I just read it.
Yes, please look up Proposal 41 so you can take down your notes.
500,000, 1,500 meters square points ranking. We go for 18. Thank you. So we go for 18. By times we go by 6. 3K, 5K, 16 by points, 4 by times. 5K, 10K, 8 by points, 4 by times. And the rest unchanged. Must start 24 by points. And team competitions 7 by points and 1 by times ranking.
Is this meeting the wishes of those that asked for an adjustment of the proposal? Seems to be the case. Are there any further comments to this proposal? Doesn't seem to be so. May I ask you to show your green card if you are in favor of this proposal? Then, okay. Those that have an unused card, it's either red or white. Can you show it? None. Thank you. It's accepted. Thank you for the cooperation in arriving at a good consensus on this. We continue then with proposal number 50.
Proposal number 50 is description of the responsibilities and duties of the sport expert, since it's official position of the ISU officials, so we include established already at practice duties of the sport expert, what at least he's responsible for.
Thank you. It's clear that this is a great overlap with the duties of the competitor steward in short track speed skating, so let's follow up on possible terminology harmonization as we move forward. But this is the first time this is regulated in our regulations, so we do not in a way want to create confusion over a system that we gradually have implemented under the title of sport expert. Now we'll also have, for the coming season, we'll have a list of those, recognized by the ISU Technical Committee as competent to fill this function. It's not an official that will be appointed by the ISU President. It's an official position that for ISU events will be controlled by the Technical Committee. They have to approve the appointment to make sure that the referees are duly supported and the competition is duly supported. Are there any questions to this proposal?
Tron, if I may, because the practice that members, they nominate officials before April 15, if I'm not wrong. But we didn't do it for this season because the rules were not there. Shall we open up the nomination procedure now? Or because the rule will be official from the moment it's voted, right?
Yeah, I was jumping ahead there. I see. Yes, we shouldn't preempt the decision of the Congress in the process. Well, we can look at how we're doing that in the first year of operation. We have a procedure, but it's not as transparent maybe as we are aiming at with this proposal. There is an intervention there from Germany Speed.
Christian Breuer, Germany Speed. It's not really an intervention, it's just a remark. The first bullet is pretty clear. It's about like conditions that are documented that the referee needs to make decisions upon, like weather and so on. The second bullet, like we all know, when you come to places where we haven't been for a while, if you would consider it like this, you find different circumstances. And I wouldn't like limit what the sport expert has to do there to these examples given, because, for example, I wouldn't make him responsible for collecting these forms, because you know how some team, well, I hope not too many team leaders are in the room, that would kill me now, but some team leaders would come up and say like, hey, you didn't collect the paper, so, well, you know, why is my skater not on the list, on the start list, on the revised one? So just to give you maybe an idea of maybe revising it, that he's responsible for assisting the referee in all relevant communication with team leaders and distribution of relevant documents for running the competition. Example, documents like final entries, withdrawal forms, and so on. So it's like more general wording, but that includes maybe all situations that we face when we come to places that we haven't been for a while and the organizer has to relearn, like, you know, running the competition here and there. Maybe give it a thought, Alex. I can also send you this. Yeah.
Thank you, Christian. I think your input is well understood, and it has no intention to change the substance of the intention of this proposal. So I would suggest that we can receive your input for the drafting committees and consider the arguments you just gave. We do not want to put the sport expert in a difficult position. I mean, if they are suddenly faced with inadequate procedures of the organizing committee, then everyone can blame the sport expert. I think this is one of the dangers that you refer to. So if you all agree that the drafting committee can consider some rewording on the specification of the tasks, but under the same basic responsibilities as outlined here, then I would like to go to voting again. Now I was ahead of you. Thank you. Green cards shown. Thank you very much. And the white and the red. Okay. It's accepted. Thank you very much. Then we are at the last proposal in our batch for speed skating special regulations from Canada. Proposal 51.
So we have the same proposal for both speed skating and short track here, and it is simply to align with the changed time frame for the allotment of championships to 5 years. We feel that with that increased timeline for the allotment of championships, we can collaborate with the organizing committees to arrive at World Cup schedules published a minimum of 1 year prior to the start of the season. This would be beneficial from both an organizing committee perspective and hosting perspective, as well as planning for our domestic competition schedules and sport within our countries.
Well, thanks, Nicole. We understand your wish, and we would like to have also schedule and program as early as possible, but last 2 years show us that if we put this provision into the rule, we may end up not in a very nice situation. Then, yeah, we will not be able to live with this provision. And yeah.
Yes, Hugo Heinhoff.
No, just to add, I do not want to jump in to the short track proposal, but since your proposal is, as you correctly said, is focusing on both the disciplines, I also would, in line with what Alex said, rather take the note and do the utmost to do the planning, but not put it as a clear rule in the rule book, because whatever is happening, we are a little bit stuck with some procedures that ultimately might create some other issues when changing or adopting different solutions. So I think this should be more a suggestion, and we can take it as a note and do the utmost to comply to it, but I would not personally put it in the rule book.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The yeah, it's a trap of rule making. You know, it isn't okay. If this is in the rule, suddenly you cannot issue something after this deadline. Okay, the golden rule of common sense will apply, but I think everyone involved in this process is taking this as a very strong request and recommendation, and we are all involved in this. I mean, I do not want to put the finger out to the members, but it's an interaction between members and the ISU. So this is as much directed towards you as hosting members as it's directed towards the ISU, because this is an interactive process where we all want to be more than 1 year ahead.
We're happy that our point's taken, and we're happy to withdraw.
Thank you. Thank you. And we hope that at the next Congress, no one should be tempted to make a similar proposal. But, okay. It's not a promise, but it's a strong wish and ambition. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing us to complete the speed skating regulations in a good time frame. We can then move to the second part of this agenda item. And before I give the floor to Natalie to give an introduction to this, an introduction, by the way, is meant to help us all to get a structure of the relatively large and much larger number of proposals in this part of the agenda. So the number of proposals is not necessarily, or it doesn't say that we have the same number of different issues as the number of proposals. There are several proposals that are closely connected, and that I will therefore recommend that we discuss together. And that means also that not always will that be proposals following each other. Could be a jump from proposal number 60-something to proposal 70-something that are related to actually the same issue. So I just don't warn you, but I advise you that that this will be my strategy to make the treatment of the short track proposals more transparent and less confusing than if we just follow the numbering sequence. So this is, again, it's a bit of consequence of the structure of the short track rules. So once you change some part of an aspect, okay, then you need to follow up that change within another chapter in the regulations. This is why we have this situation where we would jump between proposals that are not in sequence in the agenda, but still relate to the same basic question or issue. We start, the proposals start on page 37 of the agenda with proposal number 59, and it extends until proposal 120. So then I think you understand that if we can find a way to structure our discussion, it will help us to not only save time but also to reach better decisions. So with this, I'd like to ask Nathalie to give a short summary of the key points in this part of the agenda. And when she has finished, we're not doing as we could do with the speed skating part, where we had only a dozen of proposals, so we could take them one by one from the beginning. We'd like to give you all the same kind of overview that I was referring to. So please, Nathalie.
Thank you, Tron. I have a short presentation. As you said, we have a lot of proposals. A lot of them were already on the agenda 2 years ago and got postponed because they were not urgent. And they necessitate a live discussion with the group of you that we felt was really important. So a lot of them are relating to, as you know, the championships. And I just wanted to summarize in that presentation, if everything happens, what it means and what it can look like. So then when we break them down, as Tron said, it will be much quicker because they're all over the place between proposal 59 and then the rest of the proposal. So basically, we've been working for the past 5 years into, as you requested, standardizing our event, which means trying to have the same format, the same results, the same classification, the same, when you go to a competition, whether it's a World Cup or whether it's a championship or whether it's the Olympic, it will be in a very similar format. We recognize, and we've heard for years now, that the 3,000 meter super final, it's very confusing. Skaters don't race it except sometime except the maximum time they will race this race is twice a year, which is either at the European or the Four Continent Championship, and then at the World Championship if they attend also the World Championship. So one part of the proposals that we will be discussing is the removal of the super final. The TC has been working for the last 4 or 5 years closely with the council and also with the marketing group. And the consensus was to move the championship from an all-round and single-distance format to solely a single-distance championship, with the possibility to have substitute and to have specialists. So you would not have to enter all the same skaters in all the distance. So your specialists could, the best people in the 500 meter can race the 500 meter, and the best people in the 1500 meter can race the 1500 meter. As an attempt to standardize our event, and this is also a proposal from Hungary, and 2 years ago was already a proposal also from Australia, to have repêchage in all our events instead of the ranking final that we currently have for the World Championships, not just the World, for the Championships, all of them, and to standardize all ISU events as much as possible. We also have many proposals that you will see. Actually, it was accepted already yesterday in the big room. So we wanted to add the mixed team relay to all the championships. We also have a proposal to increase, because the caliber of the skating has gone so much higher recently. Instead of having 8 teams in the World Championship for the relay, to go up to 12 teams. And we also want to have the mixed team relay not just for the World Championship, but for the European and the Four Continent Championship as well. Removing the 3,000 meter makes it much easier to integrate the mixed relay. Without removing it, we have a scheduling issue. We will talk about that when we go rule by rule. We do, all of us, like on the technical committee, many of us are former short track skaters that have raced the all-round World Championship. Some of us have won it. We understand how important this title has been in the past. We do not want to kill the concept of an all-round super champion. We want to keep it. We just want to change it for a concept of a season overall champion. So basically, if everything, if you support everything, we would have a season all-round champion based on the World Cup circuit. It's the same concept as the big crystal globe. If you're familiar with all the alpine discipline and now luge and bobsleigh and skeleton, you crown a season champion with the big crystal globe. Our concept is exactly the same. You crown an all-round, an overall champion out of all distances with a big crystal globe. We are currently working, this is one option, not the only option on the table, but the marketing group is working into making this option a possibility, that it would be a real crystal globe would be created for us. Before they can pursue this, of course, we need a budget. We would not have a budget without a decision made in this room. So the title could be something like the sponsor's name, because you can sponsor that title, overall ISU World Cup Short Track Season Champion, or overall ISU World Cup Short Track Champion. And this is to crown a season champion, completely excluded from the championships. For the junior championships, we also want to put forward the mixed team relay. We have a scheduling potential issue because there's no limit to the number of teams that can participate in the junior championships. So we also have a proposal with a budget to go to 4-day competition if necessary. Of course, if the number of participants allow for us to run it over 3 days, we would, but there is a very strong chance with the numbers that we currently have in regular junior championship that it would not fit. So we have the proposal to increase it to a 4-day competition. If we do increase it to a 4-day competition, we can also extend a little bit the number of entry for the individual distance and make it a little easier to get that third skater in the junior championships. That's it for the summary of the championship proposal. So you will see that many of the proposals relate to these changes, and we will be able to have a good discussion on this important step forward for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathalie. Then we proceed, and at the beginning, I think we go one by one, but I ask for Nathalie to remind me if I do not catch the connection when we come to a chain of proposals, and also your cooperation in this matter. So if we forget something from the chair here, then you will just say, should we not also cover proposal X in this discussion? So we get that from the beginning and not suddenly realizing that we have an incomplete set of topics. Let's then move to some more isolated proposals at the very beginning. Proposal number 59 from the Short Track Speed Skating Committee. Nathalie?
This proposal is just for clarification of already usage that we have been doing. So basically this blue straight line that you saw for the first time in the Olympic and that you saw for the first few years in our World Cup and Championship, it will now be a part of our rule book so that it stays there. It's useful for the referee, it's useful for the skaters. It speeds up the process of reviewing after a race, and it has proven to be successful.
Any questions or comments? Okay, the green cards are coming up, yes. We continue with this approach. Any red or white cards? None, thank you. We can continue with proposal number 60. Netherlands. Do you want to speak? Yes, Wilf O'Reilly, Netherlands.
Wilf O'Reilly, KNSB. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. What I would suggest is to make an amendment to this proposal using the same wording, hopefully, for the zero starting procedures, that we have the opportunity to test this essentially at World Cup 1 and 2. Whatever wording we decide to use, maybe it would have to be consistent with the zero starting. That would be my suggestion on the amendment. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Response from the TC chair or the event manager on this.
I think for the technical committee, it would be okay to accept a testing period for this if the Congress here supports the idea of this as an improvement. Although I want to say that the technical committee doesn't believe this would be an improvement on the starting. We have big preoccupation with this proposal in the sense that if we are moving our first dot on the starting line towards the right, so closer to the board, we are putting the skaters, in effect, between number 1 and number 5, 20 centimeters closer together. And when we have a 6th skater on that starting line, that dot remains at the same place, so you're going to squeeze the skaters even more together. We do believe that it will lead to more click of blade and more broken blade and more cost for you. But if the vote is, if you support the proposal and you want to test it the way the Netherlands wants to amend it, then of course we will test it at the same time as we will test the zero false start. If this is also accepted, and if the zero false start is not accepted, we can still agree to test this if that's your wish.
No, but what we have experienced after the discussion on the zero false start is that it's a bit demanding to, and we're still working on it, and we think we'll come back to you with a recommendation. But it's a bit demanding to put an experiment into the rule book, because then we also need to have the stop and go criteria and decision procedure, and this maybe could I recommend a rather similar approach as the one that Canada has followed with a zero false start, that we encourage you to test it in non-international competitions as a start and to see the merits of it. That would be my recommendation, really. Also taking into consideration some of the concerns mentioned by Nathalie on the operational aspects of this in certain situations.
I think we're quite willing to withdraw the proposal, but just to make a point to the delegates, we're trying to reduce time in terms of the number of false starts for the whole duration of the competition. Most of the incidents that happen in the first corner, and what we've seen very much clearly on video footage is this is because the inside skater is trying to move outside to realize that he's on the right side of the first block. Again, if we don't have an opportunity here, we have tried it in training, we've tried it in Holland. Obviously, other countries haven't had this opportunity. So if you're suggesting that all the nations go back and try it at their national level competition, well, this could be an option. My experience is this generally doesn't happen. So somewhere I'm just trying to look for a process or a mechanism that we can have hopefully less collisions happening, not so much on the start, but actually when we get to the first block.
Oh, your intention is very commendable, absolutely, and I agree also with the argument that this is a bit similar. It's trying to find a better approach to avoid the delays of, in this case, recall back to the start. The advantage now is that you have put forward a proposal. The advantage in encouraging this to be tested at the national level is that now there is a proposal, so everyone knows what is proposed as a possible improvement. So if you can confirm that you withdraw the proposal, I'm sure the technical committee may be able to assist in promoting testing on this concept. Yeah. So can I consider it as withdrawn, Netherlands, and with some commitment to pursue
we
your
will
thoughts?
withdraw it, yes.
Thank you. We move on to Proposal 62 from Short Track Technical Committee. 61, sorry.
61, this one is an important one. This is where you will decide if you want to keep the 3,000 meter super final, or if you don't want to keep, if we delete the 3,000 meter super final from our championships. So once this will have a domino effect on a few more rules, if based on your decision on this one. It doesn't change the format. It just deletes the 3,000 meters super final, just to be clear.
And just to further explain that to everyone, it doesn't relate, or it relates, but it doesn't have any impact on keeping or not the all-round title at the World Championships. But if it's kept, okay, it will be without the 3,000 meter. And there are proposals to this effect later on in the agenda. But I believe also that it's a clean-cut proposal whether or not to keep this event in the World Championships. So it should be possible to have a separate discussion on that without actually affecting other proposals related to overall titles. Any objections to dealing with this separately as a standalone proposal? Okay, it's accepted. Any remarks to the proposal except those that already came? If not, then we can go to a vote. Those in favor of deleting the 3,000 meter, now called super final, from the championships program show by green cards. Thank you. And those that have a red or white card available and haven't used the green one, can you show, please? Okay, thank you very much. That's a goodbye to the 3,000 meter super final. That's that's maybe a nostalgic moment for some, but I think it's a clear indication that I mean it has survived itself, and I think many of you knows it came in a very different setting and a very different stage of development for the sport of short track speed skating. But thank you for your clear vote on this. And then we move on to number 62, yes. From the short track technical committee.
I believe this proposal is actually already accepted as a direct effect of proposal 37. So I don't know if we need to re-vote on this or just skip it.
No. Well, we can vote, or I can ask. Does everyone agree that this has already been adopted by the Congress? Okay, you agree, and I think we cannot oppose what is in the plenary session anyway, but also this section is in agreement with that. And to clarify, this means that it's now a part of the... Someone wants to take the floor?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please, Kelvin. New Zealand.
For the sake of English, the word mixed has to be clarified. Is it mixed countries or is it mixed teams from the same country?
It's a mixed gender.
Sorry, this is English,
yeah.
One has to be very clear. It's
a mixed gender team from one country, and we are adopting the name for the event that the IOC has named our event,
I realize that, but our legal advisor is doing this to his brow as well.
Yes, thank you. I believe, now I have to be careful, but I will be corrected immediately by some in the audience. I believe there will be more detailed rules on this mixed relay that will clarify that it is exactly what it is. Yeah. The title of the event was also discussed before we got it into the Olympic program. That's why it's called mixed team. But okay, let's make sure that we have a consistency in the complete drafting of the regulations and the technical rules where there is a reference to mixed team. Really, yeah. So what we're doing now is to say this is a title, this is part of the program. We may come back to should it happen instantly. So I'm just giving a signal now that we may, when we come to further discussions on the program and the programming of the different events at the championships, we may see that the immediate implementation of this may be a bit challenging. Normally, the decisions of the Congress takes effect immediately, so I'm just advising that we will look at the consequences of including it, which comes in later proposals, because it has to fit in with the overall program. And we already know that for the World Junior, we have a challenge with a number of days to fit in this in the program, and we already have had a process with applications for these championships. But it's adopted as part of the program in general. Then we are moving into the more complicated sets of proposal. Maybe I will first ask TC Chair to give an input as to the grouping of proposals for the discussion before we move into each and every one.
So I think for the purpose of a constructive discussion on such a major change, we should group proposals 63, 73, and 102 together. So 63 and 73 is where we address directly changing the format of the championship. So the proposal of the Netherlands to keep an all-round format over 3 distance is 63. There are other rules that are affected by it, but I don't think they need to be a part of this discussion at this moment. 73 is our TC proposal relating to a single distance with all the details on substitute. And then 102 is this crystal globe format for the season. So I think our discussion will be constructive if you're okay with this, Mr. Chair, that we group these 3 together, and then the other one will not be drafting, but will be consequence of the decision on these 3.
Thank you. Are there any objections to grouping the proposal discussion in this way related to proposal number 62? Yeah, turn paging. Yeah, it's exciting literature, but I was too slow in the turn paging. Yes, 63, 73, and 102 are the relevant proposals that are grouped into one discussion about the concept for an overall short track champion of the season. Yeah, I'll like to call on KNSB to present their proposal, or give them the opportunity to present it, Wilf.
Thank you again. Essentially, this is arguing the fact that we have, over the last number of Olympic Games, individual distances. It's very clear and defined for the public to identify. We have an Olympic champion at 500 meters, 1,000 meters, and 1,500 meters. We've just voted unanimously that the 3,000 meters has been taken away, so we're no longer talking about a 3,000 meters. We have 3 distances, and if you look back over the last 5 years, statistically, it shows that we have the champions, gold, silver, and bronze at the 1,500 meters, generally never make the semi-finals or the finals at the 500 meters. So we have a very big split between the specialists, what's happening and occurring in our sport over the last 5 to 10 years. I myself was a world champion, an overall world champion in Sydney in 1991. This was again based on 4 distances with a super final. To lose the overall title that we have currently, I think was not moving in the right direction at the moment, because I don't feel it's developing countries to allow to have individual distances. As we currently have, only 3 skaters are allowed to start in an overall championship. Therefore, this proposal is suggesting that we allow individual distances to be skated by individual athletes, and those athletes can be changed over the various 3 different distances, but still also allowing an overall combined champion. Thank you.
Thank you. Then shall we make the presentation of all the 3 related proposals before taking the floor? Germany? Is that fair? Sure. Yeah. Okay. I then give the floor to the technical committee to present their proposals related to the same topic of an overall champion. So please, Natalie.
So moving on to proposal 73, if you want to flip to page, I believe it's, let me get there. 21, no, 41, sorry. So, no, it's not 41, it's 42. Yes, okay. I'm getting there. Okay, so basically, with the technical committee, there's 2 parts to this. There's the long-term part of the proposal. The basic of it is going into a single distance, and it clarifies how many skaters you can enter in a competition based on your quotas from the previous year, which is not a change. So for the year 1, we would go with the quota on the overall, because you're going from last season, so your quota are based on the overall. But as of 22-23, then your quota would be earned from a distance. And then once you've earned your quota, substitutes are proposed here based on if you have only 1 entry, you would keep 1 skater. If you have 2 entry in one of the distance, you have 2 skater. If you have 2 entry in more than 1 distance, so you have qualified 2 entry in the 500 meter on 2 or more distance, so you have qualified, sorry, I'm going to start again. If you read the number of entry, everybody will have an automatic 1 entry. You get 2 entry if you've qualified more. If you've qualified 2 skater on 1 of the distance, you get 2 entry. Your substitute are within your 2 skaters for the other 2 distance. You get 3 entry if you have qualified 2 or more on more than 1 of the distance. You get 4 entry if you have qualified 3 on any of the distance. You get the number of skaters in accordance to Rule 297 if you've qualified a relay team, which is 5, basically. You can swap skaters between distance. So as Willy from the Netherlands was saying, we do have different skater in the 500 meter. We do have specialists now in our sport, now that it has been in a few Olympic Games. So with this rule, you will be able to change your skaters. At the same time, not going to an unlimited number of skaters. We're still respecting that the ultimate number of entry that you can make for the event is 5. And also define how many skaters you can bring if you have a mixed team relay. So basically the big question between those two is, do we want to keep an all-round format or do we want to go to a single distance format?
If I may jump in, Christian, still. Okay, listening to the two presentations, basically both proposals consider that the World Championship is mainly a single distance format type of competition. The proposal from the Netherlands keeps an overall title based on the result of the single distances in the World Championships. The proposal that the technical committee has presented, and that was just explained by Nathalie, is only dealing with the fact that the World Championship will be a single distance competition, and therefore they have in this proposal elaborated how the single distance format shall be respected by giving opportunities of skaters and countries to qualify sufficient number of skaters to actually swap between distances for their specialists. So this is so far the difference. Then the next proposal from the technical committee, 102, I'll leave that to Nathalie to present that further. But this is then two, I would say, for the sake of clarity, two different concepts of defining an overall season champion title. The Dutch proposal, okay, we may come into more detailed discussion on that later, is a new set of rules, or a revised set of rules, to use the results of each individual distance skated at the World Championship to arrive at the crowning of a champion. The short track speed skating technical committee proposal has a different departure, using the World Cup series to do this. And then I'll leave it to you to give the headlines of this proposal, so we have this in front of us before we start the detailed discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our idea and what we have been working on was to, as Tron explained, the World Championship is really a single distance format over which we are crowning an all-round champion, but you do want to have your specialists to be able to be the best and the world champion in their own distance. What we believe is nowadays, the all-round that we all loved 20 or 25 years ago doesn't truly bring the same prestige as it did way back then, because you crowned so many champions, so many world champions, where in our era, we crowned one all-round world champion. The general public doesn't see the difference between the specialist and the winner of each distance and the winner of the all-round nowadays. We do, but the general public that is not a pure fan in the vast majority of your country doesn't see the difference. So what we believe is we have an opportunity to create a prestigious title that would not be the world champion, but that would be a season overall champion. And we believe that the plus value to that is not only this will be a prestigious title. If we ask people from other sports that do have those titles, the winners of the Crystal Globe, what they prefer between their gold medal in a championship and being the season champion. Many of them will say they really value the Crystal Globe, the big Crystal Globe, because it's crowning them as an all-round season champion. The best skater of the season in all the distance, basically, is our equivalent. And we believe it brings a plus value. It doesn't remove anything from the World Championship because we're crowning all these champions, 9 total, if you exclude the overall title. So in a championship, we're going to crown 9 champions, 3 for each distance and 3 for relays. But we can bring something extra to our World Cup, which we desperately need if we want to put up the value of the World Cup. So not only are we not losing anything, in our opinion, we're transferring it into something that will bring extra value and extra opportunities for the ISU marketing group and our partners to bring, hopefully, a title sponsor, to bring some more value of the whole series and not just who wins on a certain day everywhere we go 6 times per year. So this is something we've been working really hard over the past 4 or 5 years to present to you today, and we're definitely hoping that you will give us a chance to elevate our World Cup without losing anything in our champions at the end of the season.
Thank you. And then I'd like to give the floor to Germany Speed.
Yeah, Christian again, Germany Speed. Natalie, it's totally understandable that you want to shape like a globe, like crystal globe, let's say. In parliaments, they don't count in seasons, they count in full years. That means if the budget of our parliament goes through, it's already fixed for, let's say, the season 22-23. So our problem is that there is a championship on the list, maybe, that we get funding for, but then the title is erased. That's a big problem, you know, if you start erasing things before you invent something new. And championship is totally separate from a World Cup, which we had in speed skating too. You know, we invented the overall season winner, and we had to enforce actually like the participation in the last events that people show up. Like we had this globe thing, and therefore I think we can have it all. Like if I take what Wilf said, that middle section, like having 3 distances and you pick maybe 2 out of that to still shape that overall winner. That would be a good part of it. Like that's what you need right now to have an overall world champion. But erasing that part of the World Championship program, from our point of view, is only it's the only good decision if you know that the Crystal Globe thing works and all the countries have the chance to implement that into their funding system that they ask for in their governments.
Yeah.
2 things on what you said. We are transferring funding from one title to another one internally at the ISU. We're not adding another 30,000, 40,000 of prize money and creating this trophy and keeping an overall world champion and then adding an overall season champion. So just to be clear, if we keep the all-round world championship, the proposal 102 is going to be withdrawn at this moment. Because of cost and because we believe that it will be confusing. And with the marketing group, our original proposal 2 years ago, if you remember, that agenda included the World Championship, and they felt it would be more confusing than anything else. So that's one of the reasons we changed our proposal this time around to completely separate them. On the second thing, I do believe in the vast majority of the country, the funding is based on the Olympic distance. So you get the same funding whether you win the 500, the 1,000, or the 1,500 from those classifications. And that funding can be transferred to the overall funding can be transferred to the overall champion from the season, or to the results from the distance if the overall doesn't exist anymore in the vast majority of the countries.
May I just answer to Natalie? John, is it allowed?
That will be your last intervention in this item, so you may.
Coming from a country that's like really good in bureaucracy, it's not really true. You know, like it's true for some countries, but for many other countries, it's actually true that we have championships in the non-Olympic years in the funding. So it's really to seen separate from like what the governmental funding is and the funding within the ISU. it's understood that it's not like, you know, it's going to be transferred to a different title. But overall, like World Championships in alpine skiing, for example, are every 2 years. We had this approach before. So I actually asked also the ISU, like the council, to really look at all the sports like speed skating and short track together. If you want to have like that globe thing going, then please do it for both sections, like both parts of the ISU, and don't invent separate parts. That would be also helpful also in marketing, I guess. So please, my concern is like don't erase it at World Championships and invent something new before you know that the other thing is working.
Okay. Okay, if I may, the Council supports the proposal of the Technical Committee that was in the General Assembly. And the debate was referred here, so I take the opportunity to explain shortly why the Council is in support of this change. The main reason is that short track needs to change. We need to get a more attractive format. We need to make our World Cup, which is essential for our skaters, for your skaters. We need to make that more attractive, more important. By having a calculated all-round champion in the World Championships, which is a single distance format competition, we are not adding any spectacular value to that championship. We are keeping a title. That's what we're doing. We're keeping a title. If we want to get into a better world, okay, we need to move forward. We cannot say we can have it all, because we cannot. We have great challenges in funding the current program, ISU program in short track. So we cannot have it all. We have to choose a way forward. The way forward should be to make our World Cup circuit more sustainable, more attractive, more important, to give a red thread through the season, creating attention to the World Cup because they fight for something important, something that is at least as important as the title that almost no one is aware that is happening and being delivered until the final ceremony at the World Championships. And even more so now that there isn't a 3,000 meter super final anymore. So this is a pure desktop exercise. I'm sorry to say, it's not for the skaters, the few skaters involved in the title battle, but for everyone else, this is a desktop exercise to create this title. But if we do it according to the concept of the Short Track Technical Committee, we are elevating the World Cup, we are creating a continuous attention of the Short Track World Cup season. We are telling the world currently these are, let's say, the top 3 skaters. It's good that we can profile all the podium winners in each World Cup, but for the attention of the sport, we need something more. We need this. Christian, you said, well, we should do the same all across the board. Okay, the ISU sports are in a very different position, but figure skating, which is successful, have a Grand Prix series and a title at the end of the Grand Prix series. This is their season champion. It is a very attractive series. This is the fact. Okay, we had an exercise on the speed skating side trying to create an overall champion, but it was not successful, so we left it. But there is a different setting between short track and speed skating. The overall title in speed skating was preserved through dedicated championships for the all-round tournaments. And we still have them every second year, World Sprint and World All-Round. It's a totally different setup. And also, as Wilf said, okay, we have more specialists in short track, but we also have the fact that most of the skaters are competing in the World Cup circuits, maybe all, in all the 3 distances throughout the season. That's the normal pattern. So everything is ready there to create this season champion challenge and keep that throughout the season. I cannot compete with you, Christian, in expertise on the German bureaucracy. But the future of short track is more important. And I cannot believe that an excellent individual effort in a world championship tournament, which the world championship will remain to be for single distances, is not attributed value in the funding scheme of your federation. Even more so when the ISU would declare that now it's the season champion that replaces the overall title of short track speed skating for a given season. So this is why the Council supports this move, and we believe this is a necessary move, and it's necessary to take it now much rather than later. Netherlands.
Just for clarification, Tron, you just mentioned that the skaters that go to World Cups skate all the distances. As we know, at World Cups we have 2 distances of the same. So this also has an impact on the way the World Cups will be organized as well. Just for clarification.
Well, I think then we're into the more detailed aspects that certainly can or will or maybe already has been considered and taken care of. The regulations of the World Cup is issued annually. If this proposal will pass, it will certainly be a main concern that the detailed regulations of the World Cup is adjusted to this innovation or this new title that we want to create with this proposal of the technical committee. But my point was that most of the skaters competing in the World Cup circuit, okay, maybe they are forced to do so because of the participation rule of the World Cup currently, but most of them are taking part in, I believe, in most of the distances over the season, not at all events because of the rules that you mentioned.
If I may, Tron, I spoke on Proposal 73 and 102, but I did not speak on Proposal 63, and I would like to point out a couple of things that the TC believe are problematic with the proposal. One of them is if there isn't a minimum of 20 entry on at least 2 distance, then we don't crown the overall champion. Which we believe is really problematic because you can end up at the end of the season with a European man champion but no European women champion, and then a 4-continent women champion but no 4-continent men champion, and same with the World Championship. So we will have archives in our history of champions that will make absolutely no sense to the public. That's one big issue. You would only know on the Wednesday night if you do have an overall champion title or not, based on who enters on what distance. And the other flaw that we find with the proposal is it doesn't define the number of entry or in any way, shape, or form. So it refers to 1 substitute per distance. So it means if you've qualified 1 skater, can you bring 4 people? 1 per substitute per distance leads to 4 people. If you've qualified 2 skater, can you bring 6 plus 3, which is 9 skater? And if you've qualified 3 skater, you see where I'm going with this. The proposal did not come with a budget, nor with a number of specific entry. And so, so we can see huge increase in cost for an organizer if all those substitutes are added to the competition without any definition of how many you can have based on how many you've had the previous year. So the point of having the possibility to do substitute, I believe we cannot accept this rule the way it is because it did not come with a budget, and it's a huge increase in budget for organizers. I don't know if this was noticed by all of you, but this is how the proposal is written.
Any more to take the floor on these proposals? Yes, US Speed Skating.
Yes, Ted Morris, US Speed Skating, and I just wanted to share our support of the Technical Committee's proposal on Rule 102. I think one thing that was mentioned earlier that's really important to emphasize is the consistency of World Championships to Olympic Games. And we have a lot of kids that watch Olympic Games but don't follow our sport year to year. And by keeping it consistent with how we're rewarding champions at the Olympic Games and doing the same at World Championships, I think is really important and very much worth an opportunity to see if we can grow the popularity of our sport year to year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more interventions? Does not seem to be the case. Then we need to move towards voting. Let me make sure I do this clearly. We have proposal 63 and yeah, 73, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's consistent that we first vote on the Dutch proposal, because if that would be accepted, then the two other proposals are not relevant. Or do we? Yep.
I don't know if it's legally possible with the voting, but maybe it will make sense to put up a vote with an A and B option. A option being going with the Dutch proposal, B option going with the TC proposal. And then we can measure the room of how people feel and then make a decision after that.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about an A and a B option, and we have to decide what to vote on first. It's just a suggestion. Maybe.
I just want to say that I'm preoccupied if Proposal 63 goes forward, how are we going to manage what I just said earlier? So maybe we could get a sense of the room before we move with this, because I feel amendments are necessary. Otherwise, I don't know how we can draft the rules to support this proposal.
That's a valid remark. It has been given, and I believe, well, we could elaborate on the more or less technical impossibility of implementing Proposal 63. So if you would adopt 63, then we are stuck with a lot of additional work to be done. And we might have to conclude it's not feasible to actually implement it without another Congress taking the responsibility for assuring the proposal. Okay, I think this is a fair thing to say. It also means that I would maybe follow the idea of Victor, but that was partly my idea. But of course, what you suggest is to have a trial vote to see which has the more support. Yep. Go to the microphone, Herman, please. Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead, Herman.
Yeah, no, this is working. Yeah, I fully agree with the technical committee that the Dutch proposal, for some reasons given already and also for other reasons, not really working. And just in case it is decided, yes, we have the issue and the problem that there are many details which has to be clarified afterwards. So this is not really working. But when we reject the Dutch proposal, the option for the overall classification is still existing without amendment, because then we could run the overall competitions like the ISU Junior Challenge. So this option is still open. So we can vote about 63, and but I personally can follow the intention of the ISU Council to give this new system a chance, and but this is up to the ISU Congress to decide.
It is. I'd like to. What we are doing now is essentially providing a recommendation back to the plenary session. The plenary session will be the session that decides whether the overall title will be this or that. So we are not. We are in the preparation stage, so to speak, and our duty, and this is very important for the self-respect and the image of short track speed skating, that we're not coming back to the plenary session with something that we have to admit is, well, not properly prepared, ready to be implemented. Now, we should also recall that we just have deleted the 3,000 meter super final. We did that because that concept for crowning an overall champion inside the World Championship tournament did not work unanimously. We have said the current format is not working. Then to replace it with a format with a lot of open questions and inconsistencies is not the best way of protecting the interests of our short track sport. So with this again, I think I will propose to show your opinion on proposal number 63. Those in favor of proposal number 63 show the green card. Okay. Those against, that's sufficient because it needs to have 2/3 green cards. So this is not adopted. It's rejected. Then we can move to 73. And this is the proposal of the technical committee to change the overall format or to adjust the overall format of the World Championships short track to be purely a single event, single distance tournament. And this proposal includes the necessary provisions to manage the championship in this different way, where we do not keep the restrictions that were related to the old main purpose of the World Championship short track, namely to crown an overall champion, and therefore having this restriction on everyone being entered for all distances. So can I please ask you to show, those of you in support of this proposal, show your green cards. 73. Can I ask red cards to be shown? 73. It's 73, yes. Well, you have a second chance now. If you don't agree, then you can show your red card.
We agree in general with this unified entry procedure, but we feel that at the European Championships we can have more skaters on the start, in particular in future, because in the last European Games 2 years ago we only had 33 ladies and 44 men, and here the minimum skaters which each country has is 1. And everybody knows that short track is actually, in the training sessions, is a team sport. So it would be good if the minimum for the European Championships and for the 4 continents would at least 2 skaters. For the 4 continent championships, we have really big, how do you say it, we need a big improvement because we need more skaters there. And so this is my remark on this entry procedure with the number of skaters, because the European Championships with 33 ladies, why should not each European member have the right to at least to have 2 skaters in these championships? There is no reason for only 1.
I understand I'm not sure if everybody understands. You have a different proposal addressing the minimum number of quota for the European and the 4 continent championship. These 2 don't conflict. If yours is accepted, we will redraft that the minimum will be 2. Okay? Like at the junior, the minimum is 2. This is to clarify the number of substitute for a single distance. Okay?
Okay. With this clarification, which if I understand it well, it means that it's possible to, still possible to address your proposal. Because what we did now was that we wanted to have the focus on the future of the World Championships and the world overall short track title. So that's why we grouped it together. It was not the intention to block the discussion on more isolated or specific proposals. So with this clarification from the TC chair, can I then ask, because well, okay, we have one more green card, but can I ask if anyone has a red or a white card on this specification that for sure applies for the World Championships as from now, but might be adjusted, right?
I think it can be implemented as of now, but there is a small increase of, well, the part that going from 8 to 12 as an increase on the budget, so that can be dealt with separately, but this one doesn't have an impact, so it could be done as of now, with the transition here that it's written in there.
No one has shown any red or white cards, so then we can consider 73 to be adopted. And then the remaining part of the puzzle is that 102, yes? 102, which includes in the regulation the introduction of an overall title outside the World Championship event. So this is the substance of 102. So if we do not adopt 102, then we have deleted a title and not replacing it with anything else. So are there anyone who wants to speak on, before we go to the vote on 102? That's not the case. Will you please show your support with the green card for this proposal? Thank you. And any red or white cards to be shown for the record? No, thank you. Then I have a very clear vote to report back to the plenary session. Thank you very much. I think everyone involved will do their best to make this a positive move and boost for short track speed skating. Now, I notice that we are about to, are we? Yes. We are about to work overtime, fortunately not injury time, and I'm very happy to conclude this session with the decision we have just taken, and we will continue to meet in this configuration, in this room, tomorrow morning at 9, because now there is lunchtime and excursion afterwards. Well, okay, I was asked here secretly, do I have any details of the excursion? And I'm sure I can leave that request to my colleague. Okay, please, Susan.
Okay, for those who are going to the island tour, you can take your jacket off. Okay, just t-shirt and short and slipper, and also don't forget sunblock. Okay, you're all gonna have fun and then come back, and at the hotel we have a dinner, welcome dinner at the hotel at the Congress Hall, same as where the big room. Yeah, at 8 o'clock in the evening. Have fun.